Project Boro is now available as a podcast on your chosen podcast providers, so you can listen to every episode on the go. Simply go to the description of this video, click the link to the podcast provider of your choice, and subscribe or follow Project Boro, and you'll be able to find all episodes past, present and future right there for you to listen to on the go. Boro's season ends in style with another goal fest and a win over Watford.
He's in, and he's snuck it across.
What is up, guys? Welcome to the final episode of Project Boro this season, and today we are discussing Boro's curtain closing final day victory at home to Watford. Of course, a game between two sides who have absolutely nothing to play for, nothing riding on this one other than pride and sending your fans into the summer, happy or not. And Boro sent the Boro faithful home for the summer in a very optimistic place as they beat Watford 3-1. Scoring 3 goals again is a massive achievement for Boro. The goals seem to be flying in at the moment, as are the number of chances that we are creating. But it is another victory. It means we've only lost 1 in the last 12, which was of course the game at home to Leeds, which we shouldn't have lost, down to obviously some sketchy refereeing decisions. But it just ends a fantastic conclusion to the season for Boro, and the form we've shown, some of the players, the individuals, the goals that we're scoring, it only bodes well for the future. And of course, as I've said in a couple of Project Boros over the last few weeks, it's frustrating in a sense that this didn't come earlier. The caveat I always applied to that was, well, who'd want to be in this playoff four anyway, with, of course, the likes of Leeds, Southampton, West Brom and Norwich, arguably the toughest playoff four we've had in years. But then you could also use the reverse caveat to that and say, well, not one of them 4 teams has any form whatsoever. So sneaking in to 6th at this moment in time, on the form we're in, could have made us, in a strange way, favourites to carry on and get through the playoffs. So there is a tinge of disappointment that we just didn't quite get there in the end, because as you can see by the league table, this is how it finished. Boro 8th in the end, 4 points off the playoffs. We got 69 points from 46 games, winning 20, drawing 9, losing 17, scoring 71 goals and conceding 62. The 4 points that we were short of the playoffs, you could say, were the 4 points we dropped to maybe Rotherham, who were at the bottom of the table and were relegated long ago. So, yeah, there is a degree of frustration. But, put that aside, there is immense optimism, I have to say, because we are seeing so many of Boro's new signings completely settle in now. We're seeing, and we have seen, Lath at his absolute peak, improving massively. We're seeing Finn Azaz look absolutely amazing. We're seeing certain relationships like Luke Ayling and Isaiah Jones down the right-hand side, and then Lath through the middle. We're seeing Bangura come back and look like he very, very well could be, I think, ahead of Engel in terms of our left-back first choice next season. We're seeing Alex Gilbert come to the fore and look like an unbelievable player. You know, on top of that, Rav Vandenberg has settled and has been immense this season. Racked up a number of awards in midweek at the end of season awards for the Boro. I think he won Player and Young Player of the Year. His partnership with Matt Clark has blossomed massively. Add to that, we've signed Johnny Howson onto a new contract. We've got so many outstanding footballers coming back next season. Hopefully, if they're still here, we've got Riley McGree to come back, Darragh Lenihan to come back, Tommy Smith to come back. We might have Hayden Hackney if he stays. You've got Marcus Force to come back in. It's quite incredible when you step back and you look at what this Boro side has done over the last 12 games, essentially with still so many players out who would normally start. And then you think, these players are going to be here next season. You know, out of all the players I listed, only Hackney is the one I don't think will be here next season. You know, McGree has posted on social media, he's looking forward to next season. I think all the hearsay of him being unhappy and wanting out's been complete bollocks from the start. The only lone players who are leaving is Luke Ayling, who said after the game that discussions have pretty much begun and are close already, so it looks like we're jumping on that one before interest comes in from elsewhere. There's a lot of reported interest in Luke Ayling from various other clubs, and you can tell why. We're going to get into some of the stats at some point, but I mean, his assists are off the scale for Boro since January, and guaranteeing him coming back into the side, that means we're only going to be losing Lewis O'Brien and Sam Greenwood and Luke Thomas. Now, Greenwood and Thomas, I can give or take, they're not really that important to the peak Boro side that I think we haven't potentially in our hands here. I think O'Brien is maybe the only one that we might struggle to get back in, and that might be a problem for us if Hackney goes. But other than that, the defensive options we've got are solid. They're going nowhere, as is the goalkeeper. A lot of teams are going to be scrambling around for a 20-goal-a-season striker next season, as we were in the summer after we lost Akpom and Archer. And we've got one ready-made in Lath, who's hit 18 goals this season, despite being injured for pretty much a quarter of it, you know. So the foundations that are in place for this Boro team are quite good, and it feels weird to me that I feel equally, if not more, optimistic about next season now than I did at the end of last season, because obviously it's easy to be optimistic when you come off such a fantastic season like we did last year, even though we lost out in the playoffs. But you had that tinge in the back of your mind of that big if of, can we replace the Gileses, the Akpoms, the Archers, the players who are probably going to leave? You hope so, but it's not a guarantee. Whereas this season, we've got such a solid base to hopefully add to. And the big caveat is that this is Middlesbrough Football Club, and we've been bitten on the arse many times by this club when we've allowed ourselves to get excited. But I genuinely believe that if this squad stays together, and I think squad retention's massive. If Hackney stays, great. I don't think he will. If Rav stays, I think he will. That's massive. Same with McGree. We just need to keep this team fit. Add a couple of quality players. Finn Azaz is another one I don't know if I mentioned, who has been outstanding and is improving massively. These are all players who are ours. We've bought them. We've had to wait patiently. We've allowed them to develop, and we're starting to see the results of this patience and this development, and that will only get better next season. So this is something I'll discuss a lot more, obviously, in a season review video and probably a season preview video heading into next season. But my overall thoughts coming away from not only this game but this season is a tinge of disappointment, of course, that we were so close and quite easily could have gotten into the playoffs, which, given the injuries we've had and the drop in quality compared to last season, I think we're only 6 points short of last season's tally. That just shows what a job Michael Carrick has done. You know, 6 points short of last season is quite amazing. So yeah, absolutely brilliant. Can't wait for next season. And we've finished this one in arguably the best form of any team in the entire league, with probably at the moment the best striker in the league, which is fantastic. Now, of course, I wasn't at this game yesterday. I've been away this weekend at the World Snooker Championships, so I can't go into this game in detail because I simply don't know how it went. I don't know the flow of it. I have an idea, but for a fantastic, 3-1 victory. It looked very much like it was going to be a level game, and from the highlights, Watford did have their chances. Sonny Dieng had to make a couple of good saves, and Alex Gilbert did make a fantastic last-ditch tackle from a 1v1, which was absolutely amazing. He gets that wrong, he's off the pitch, so that was an outstanding challenge. But, yeah, for Boro to get 3 goals, Lath, Bangura, what a moment for him. Isaiah Jones too, absolutely brilliant. Of course, as I say, Watford did have an early opportunity with a header that was saved by Sonny Dieng, but Mr. Inevitable did put Boro in front, and it came from, of course, Luke Ayling, who, as I say, is an assist machine. He's got 9 assists this season, and he only arrived in January. That's 2 short of Ryan Giles, who was, of course, the most irreplaceable footballer we had last season, someone we couldn't foresee a future without, and yet Luke Ayling, who come in after being let go by Leeds, seemingly a player who was done, a player who was only heading down the pyramid, whatever you want to call him, he has rocked up and put 9 assists since January. It is quite an outstanding tally. And in his last 7, you can see him and Lath have been electric, and I don't quite know how many of these have been their goal contributions or goal combinations, but Luke Ayling has an assist against Sheff Wed, an assist against Ipswich, obviously didn't play in the Leeds game because he was ineligible, got an assist against Cardiff, 2 assists against Watford, and plenty more before that as well. So, fantastic bit of play down the right-hand side. Great cross, it was behind Lath. He still had a little bit to do, but again, he just finds a way of guiding the ball into the back of the net. And I think he's got, it's either 10 in his last 11 or 11 in his last 12. I can't quite remember the figure, but yeah, 18 goals is ridiculous. I've said this so often, I'm repeating myself, but he deserves it. To come into a new league, to come into a new side, and the league championship. The championship is such a tough league, and to deliver the numbers that he's delivered, it's outstanding. And he's scoring so many different types of goals, and the relationship between him and Luke Ayling is one I simply think has to continue. And I think that in itself is enough to warrant the signing of Luke Ayling, and to hear that we are pretty much on the go with that already is great to hear. Watford did get themselves back into the game. It took until the 73rd minute for them to do so. Wesley Hoyt with the equaliser, a corner to the near post, flicked on. Whether it was flicked on with the intention of going into the back of the net or flicked on to a teammate at the back post, it found its way in anyway, which, could have, the game could have simply petered out at that point. Both sides could have finished the season, shook hands with a draw and went their separate ways, but I think the mentality of Boro here really, really shown. Despite there being nothing to play for, in the last few games, Boro have really showed a want and a need to win. And that's really impressive. When there's nothing on the line, to see a side who are still wanting to create, still wanting to score, put their opponents away, it's brilliant. And Bangura put us back in front. Got to give it to him, Sam Greenwood, with some fantastic footwork here to get us into the position we were in. The cross was a bit heavy, but it falls to Alex Bangura, who finishes with his right foot. And the celebrations here were brilliant. Every single member of the Boro team pretty much ran over to Bangura. Lath almost clotheslined him. I was getting a bit worried given our injury crisis this season. I thought, Christ, be careful, Lath. You don't want to injure Bangura. Yeah, Seny Dieng come up from the goal, and it seems like the whole squad was just so happy for Bangura, and I love that. I love the togetherness in that moment, and it was great for him because, of course, he was just starting to find his feet, and he suffered that hamstring injury against Chelsea in the first leg back in January, and has had to wait and come back in. He's looked brilliant since he's come back in as well, and to get a goal is absolutely brilliant. I believe it's his first Boro goal, but if it is, the celebrations really warranted it. It was brilliant. And then Boro put the game to bed on the 84th minute. Isaiah Jones with a very good finish here again. Brilliant play down the right-hand side. Once more, Luke Ayling, once again. It was a great ball in behind by Finn Azaz as well, who's another player who's just really coming good now. And yeah, Ayling, brilliant. Great awareness to slow the game down, pick out his pass, and Isaiah Jones, in fairness, with a very good finish. And it capped off a wonderful, wonderful final day for Boro and a wonderful win over Watford. As you can see by the momentum and the stats, it was a bit choppy. I mean, I didn't watch the game, so I can't comment too much, but Watford did have spells, especially towards the end of the first half after Boro went 1-0 up, but I think it was important that Boro went into the second half 1-0 up. And then, again, despite a few moments or a few spells at the start of the second half, Boro really took control and put the game away in that final 20 minutes. Stats-wise, as you can see, Boro, again, very, very creative. 2.2 XG, 12 shots in total, 6 on target, 3 of them goals, which is great. Dominated the XG, dominated possession, passing stats once again too. And as for the players, I mean, again, I can't really comment on individuals because I wasn't at the game, but I mentioned a few of them. I could go on about how well a lot of these boys have played over the last few weeks. But a few, people of note. Law McCabe had a start here, which was absolutely great for him. James Wilson come off the bench. He has just signed a deal with Boro and is now officially number 999 in terms of pros who have put on the Boro shirts. So the next Boro player who plays for us, who hasn't before, will take the illustrious number 1000. to be the 1,000th professional Boro player, which is quite a stat. What a stat that would be if you had that on your CV. But yeah, great performances all around. You can see I can't comment on them all. I've already mentioned quite a few of them already. But yeah, 2 assists for Luke Ayling, an assist and a goal for Isaiah Jones, Lath on the score sheet again. Gilbert looks like he's going from strength to strength. Azaz as well, absolutely brilliant. And then off the bench, it sounds like Bangura made a great impact, as did Sam Greenwood too. So, we mentioned the league table, nothing else to really say. Obviously, you can have a little look around the rest of the championship, and I am going to be bringing you guys a few other individual videos here on the channel discussing Ipswich Town and their brilliant achievement. We're going to be predicting the playoffs as well, as now we know Leeds will be playing Norwich and Southampton will be playing West Brom in the playoff place. It's quite interesting, the lack of form that each of the 4 playoff teams have right now. As I mentioned, Hull just missing out, which I think is a very, I think it's going under the radar how much of a missed opportunity and an underachievement that is from Liam Rosenior at Hull, given the squad he had, especially from January. And then the shock as well, and a few of the videos that I'll be bringing you guys to the channel, is the self-sabotage of Birmingham City, who went from 6th and comfortably in the playoffs when they hired Wayne Rooney. Birmingham City have been relegated from the Championship, with Plymouth, Sheffield Wednesday and Blackburn staying up. In fact, quite incredibly, only one of the bottom 8 lost. The rest all won. That's bonkers. 7 of the bottom 8 all won on the final day, which of course condemned Birmingham to the drop, as Huddersfield as well, I guess, who were already down as it is. But yeah, not much else to say, guys, other than that is it. Boro's season is done. We are going to be coming back to review it in more detail. We'll obviously be looking ahead to the summer and the transfer window. I'll be grading each Boro player and grading their seasons as well, on who I think's had the best season, who maybe has underwhelmed, as well as a lot more content. So honestly, if you are interested in hearing all of the above, do subscribe on the YouTube channel if you haven't already, and of course hit the bell so you never miss a video when it drops. In terms of podcasts, that probably is going to be it. I might drop the season review on the podcast providers as well, so if you're listening on any of them, do still subscribe and follow me over on your chosen podcast provider. And as always, leave me a like on the video and comment below your thoughts on this result and Boro's season as a whole. We will be back, as I say, lots more content to come throughout the summer. It's not going to be slowing down here on the channel, as well as other generic content as well, and maybe I might do a few gaming bits as well. We'll have to wait and see what happens there. But a big thank you for all of the support on Project Boro this season. It's continued to grow, it's continued to improve, the viewing figures have continued to be strong, and it's also doing really well over on the podcast providers too. So I hope you guys have enjoyed it. We'll continue to look to improve it next season and maybe introduce some previews as well. But for now, that has been the final episode of Project Boro. A big thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys soon for lots more content throughout the summer. Up the Boro.